Well, this is a great question that has been coming up quite a bit. So I talk about how our kids have been more creative since we've highly simplified their toys. But then the question is, but what are they doing? What exactly are they being creative with? And how do they occupy their time? So let's talk more about that coming up next. Well, hi, I'm Dawn from The Minimal Mom, and our family of 6 just enjoys sharing about our minimalist lifestyle. And so I have talked a lot about toys, and I go on and on about how since we've simplified them, it's made such a huge difference in our house. It's definitely improved the way our house feels. It doesn't feel as messy or cluttered, but also the kids play better on their own. They play better together, and they can occupy themselves for so much longer. And so what are they occupying themselves with? Well, I've definitely talked about how they love to build things out of cardboard and tape. We can't really even keep tape in the house anymore because our 5-year-old is always building something with it and using it up. So this him and our 9-year-old built, they made a little circus. So it had a little trampoline and a tightrope and little characters that they made for it. They also love building things out of egg cartons. And so we can't really keep those in the house anymore either. Our 9-year-old can usually be found at her desk doing an art project, or lately she's been cross-stitching or knitting. She also has gotten into cooking, and she's really helpful around the kitchen now. I highly encourage you, get your kids involved in the kitchen. I know in the beginning it's more work and they can make a really big mess, but it's probably been about 6 months and she's been helping more in the kitchen, and now she can make a whole meal on her own. Do you know how helpful that is? It's awesome. And then while she's cooking, then our 4-year-old was setting the table. They love setting the table. I don't know what it is about setting the table, but they like fight over whose turn it is. Sometimes they'll even make like name tags for the table or do special things to decorate it. And then of course we send them outside to play whenever possible. I have a whole video on how to get your kids to play outside longer and to actually like it. And so I'll link to that. But we're in Minnesota. For the last 9 school days, the kids have had 6 snow days or cold weather days where they couldn't go to school. But also what's the hard part is when it's really cold outside, they can't go outside either. And in the past, I would have had dreaded that. I would have plugged them into the TV or cell phone or whatever it took just to keep them occupied, kind of justifying it like, well, we just got to do what we have to do to get through. But honestly, I've almost really liked the snow days because I didn't have to go out in the snow and bring them to school and pick them back up. So it's really been cool to see how things have shifted in our house, that they really can just find things to do to occupy themselves. What else do? They build tons of forts out of pillows and blankets. The other day, the boys put on their hats and sunglasses and they were playing robbers. The girls will do gymnastics shows. They make up their own dance routines. They play piano. I mean, if you think back, like, what did we used to do when we were kids, right? So at our house growing up, my mom worked full-time during the week. Saturdays were like cleaning day, right? And so usually my twin sister and I, we would start in the morning, we're like helping with the dishes and picking up and all of that. But usually a couple hours in, we would disappear upstairs and start playing with our Barbie dolls. And so we learned pretty early on that like make yourself scarce and then you get out of doing a lot of stuff. But eventually my mom would be like, okay, you guys had a long enough break, come back down and help some more, But like I talked about in the last video, we have to let our kids get bored. That creativity lies just past boredom. So let them get bored, and I think you're going to see all these creative things come out in them too. Oh, this was really cool. They were making a bridge out of brain flakes and then seeing how much stuff they could put on. It was incredible how much weight it actually held. And so I've talked about brain flakes before, but I'll put a link for those down below again as well, because the kids have so much fun with those. Those and Legos, I think we could get rid of every other toy in our house and they would be just fine. But also, I guess some of the other benefits we've noticed too now that they're able to occupy themselves on their own is that, like, if we go to a restaurant, or certainly if we're on an airplane or even traveling in the car for a long time, they're able to find things to do. They make up songs, they play I Spy, they're just kids, It's like I said, it's the same things we used to do when we were growing up and we couldn't count on our parents to entertain us all the time. And so I hope this helps. Coming up, we'll also talk about allowance and chores and how we handle all that in our house, because we definitely keep that very simple as well. And I would love to know what other questions you have and what creative things your kids do when they're stuck inside. So leave that down below. I'd also love it if you'd subscribe. It basically helps more people find out about our channel if more people people subscribe to it. So if you found anything of value here, then maybe other moms would too. So subscribing would help out with that. Certainly liking and leaving a comment too. So thank you in advance for all of that. We greatly appreciate it, and we will look forward to visiting with you again soon.